All right, so the topic for this session is baby steps to winning with money. I know that the rationale behind this is that everybody wants to be rich, but not everyone has the right mindset and principles to win with money. And there are many young adults out there that are struggling with their finances, living paycheck to paycheck, and think that they need to be earning a lot more money to start investing. And also, there are some young adults out there that are overwhelmed and they don't know where to really begin in terms of planning their finances. So, the goal of this session is to break down those steps to financial freedom, accountability for all of us. On a side note as well, the gospel does cost a lot of money. And so, we believe that if young adults are financially empowered, many gospel projects will no longer be delayed or canceled. So definitely this session will expose us to, certain things that can help us to become financially independent and just getting us out there to start on those projects that we've been deferring on. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys have your notebook and pen with you to jot down, because I'm telling you, you are going to learn a lot in this session. So some of the topics we'll be addressing will be geared towards, how to create budgets, paying off your student loans, saving to buy your first house, what are RRSPs, which is the Registered Retirement Savings Plan, as well as the TFSA, the Tax-Free Savings Account. And why are these accounts, why are they important? And also how to begin to invest. So those are topics that we're going to be discussing in this session. And I would like to welcome our guest speaker, Mrs. Fikayo Usman. She's going to be taking this session. So I'm just going to give you a little intro into what Mrs. Usman is into. So she's an accomplished accountant with over 10 years experience working in the finance industry and the public practice as well. She's got impressive completion of her MBA and CPA, and also she's a designated financial coach, and she brings invaluable financial expertise to learn from. Also, you should know that she's the founder of Fixit Finance. And Fixit Finance is like a platform dedicated to educating young Canadians about personal finance and the importance of financial literacy. Now, if you do have any questions at the end of this session, there will be an opportunity for us to go over those questions and answer them as well. If you want to remain anonymous or you don't want everyone to see your questions, you can send them directly to me as a private message. Again, my name is Folashade Williams. So just send your questions directly to me. Or if you're okay with just sharing it, just put it in the chat room. And when she's done, I will go over those questions one after the other. And without further ado, I am going to have Mrs. Fikayo Usman to start right now. Over to you, Fikayo.
Awesome. Thank you, Shadi. Thank you so much. This is very, very, very exciting. I've just been smiling from cheek to cheek as if no, my mouth is paining me. Welcome everybody. First of all, this is such a great honor. Like for those who know me a little bit, I've been part of the Yazin team since like 2010, and it's a great honor to be I guess in the front side now instead of on the back side. When you're part of the planning team, you're the one at the end. But now, getting the invitation. First of all, thank you, Yazim, for thinking of me, Pastor Tone, the entire team. This is such a great honor. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a piece of my passion. So, for those of you who follow Fixit Finance, you know that we teach about finance topics. We post on Instagram, we make YouTube videos. So today we're going to be talking about some high level stuff based on what Folashade said in the introduction. So, from investing, we're going to go into the basics of investing, budgeting, talking about the 7 baby steps, which is some sort of a financial plan. So please, there are going to be a lot of questions. So if you have questions, including stuff that I don't necessarily cover, but you're facing in your financial life right now, please feel free to post the question. Like Shade said, you can send it directly to her. Her name is Folashade on the Zoom chat. Yeah, so without further ado, we're just gonna get right in. Okay. Can anybody still hear me? Just awesome. Perfect. Okay, so my name is Fikayo Usman. I am a CPA, a chartered professional accountant. I also have my master's in business administration. I'm a certified financial coach, and I love teaching people about personal finance. A bit of my background. So I was just like every other person, you know, I had student loans. I was really broke. At some point, money used to make me cry because I did not have like $20 to rub together. And you know, I started asking God, I'm like, God, I don't think this is how it's meant to be. If you teach me, I will do exactly what you tell me to do. And so far, He's been faithful in teaching on personal finance subjects. So since the lessons he taught me worked for me, I decided to start sharing it with everybody, and so far it's been a blessing, and I'm really grateful and feel very honored that God would use me on such a topic like that. If someone told me a few years ago that I'll be teaching on personal finance, I would have probably laughed, but thank God for where we are today. Hallelujah. So before we get into it, let's just take a second to pray. Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you so much for the Live Aloud conference. And thank you so much for every single person that has joined today. Thank you for how you plan on using this session to change people's lives. We pray that you take absolute control of my words, everything I teach. Lord, finances is something that you are very interested in the lives of your children. Because I know for a fact, like in my personal life, I know how my prayer life changed just when I got my finances in order. So, Lord, I pray for every single person here today. And I pray that you would minister to them individually. You would teach them what they need to do in order to experience financial peace. And at the end of the day, you would bless each and every one of us such that we'll be able to provide and, you know, sustain and bless the kingdom when it comes to financial matters in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name I've prayed. Amen. All right. So our agenda for today, we're going to be discussing why. So like with all things, if you don't know the why behind a thing, chances are you won't necessarily stick to it. Oh, sorry. Someone is drawing across the screen. Can you see that, Shadi?
Yes, I can see that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Someone just drew across the screen. I'm not sure how to stop that. Okay.
Like from this chat room?
Yes. There's like a red. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just keep going. Okay. So on the agenda, we're going to start with why, and then we'll talk about to understand the how. You know, so when you start with why, you need to understand how to actually do it, how to actually gain financial freedom/peace, and then the basics of the what. So the what is what a lot of people focus on. Oh, RRSPs, TFSA, investing, saving. But if you don't understand the how to get there and the why, chances are you won't necessarily stick to the what. We'll discuss some key takeaways and then we'll have time for questions. All right. So start with why. So I guess my question to everybody today is, why do you want to become financially free or build wealth? Like, what's the purpose? Are you just wanting it so that you can flex on the entire nation, you know, or are you wanting it so that you can actually have some peace and do something special with it? You know what I mean? Like be able to be a tool in God's hands for him to do something with, you know? So a lot of us, we want to get financially free for various reasons. And there's nothing wrong with any reason you have. Just make sure that whatever reason you are choosing as your why is something that will make you stick to it. And when I say stick to it, in the sense of it will keep you going in the long run, you know? The next thing is like if you don't have, like I said, if you don't have a good enough why, chances are you won't stick to the process, because being financially disciplined is not necessarily easy. There are a lot of distractions. There are a lot of things that would keep you under, you know, like the system we live in, for example, is very debt heavy. So if you don't understand why you want to be financially free, for example, when you pay off your car, within 2 seconds, you're likely going to go pick up another car and get into more debt because there's no real reason why, you know? So I definitely want to encourage you to think of, and we're going to go through an exercise in the next slide, of why you want to become financially free. Why do you want to gain charge of your finances? Why do you want to pay off your student loans? It could be as simple as, I'm just tired of living from paycheck to paycheck. It could be as big as, I want to be able to sponsor, you know, the next Live Loud conference, or even bigger than that, you know, hallelujah, somebody. I know that's a big why for some of us. The next thing is, you know, like I said, if you understand your why, you'll be able to keep you on the days when you really want to quit. Okay. I apologize for this red sign that's here. Somebody drew it and for some reason I can't get rid of it. Okay. So examples of why. One of the examples is to make sure your children never have to borrow. So, for example, in this land we live in, everybody knows, to go to school, some people have to take student loan. Some people have to take credit card in order to be able to maintain their lives. Some people have to, if you want to buy a house, you definitely have to take on a mortgage. But there are people in this land, in this same Canada, that have done it in such a way that their children never have to borrow. Like in such a way that tomorrow when their children are done school throughout their university education, they've already planned for it as soon as those children were born. So those are some of the things to think about when you're thinking or deciding on what your why would be. How great of a gift. Like some of us came here as international students and your parents paid for the entire 4 years and you didn't graduate university without any debt. That is a blessing compared to someone in your class that had to take on student loan. You both graduate, that person is starting with $60,000 in the hole from student loans. You understand? So that's what I'm saying. Like, if one of your whys is for your children to never have to borrow, that is a good enough and that's a big enough why. Another why could be you want to become work optional. Some of you're just working for the sake of working. You're just working, like, if you had your way, you probably won't be doing the job you're doing. Or, excuse me, for example, I know a lot of the members of the Yazin team are very passionate, but every single one of us work full time. You understand? So how beautiful would it be to be able to be financially stable enough that you can focus on ministry, for example, go to other nations and preach the gospel, for example, be able to do things that you're passionate about, whatever that is. If you want to, develop the cure for something or develop a new software or whatnot, those kind of things, they require funding, and for you to download some of those heavenly inspirations, like some of those things require funding. So that's also a big enough why. You want to be able to follow your true passions. Another thing is you want to just end the cycle of poverty / near success syndrome in your family. If you look around you, nobody has really quote unquote made it, and you want to be that person that quote unquote makes it. That is a good enough and that's a big enough why. You want to end the cycle of poverty. Like a lot of people today, like based on statistics, the average Canadian cannot afford a $200 emergency. Meaning if today was payday, you pay your bills and everything. By tomorrow, if a $200 emergency popped up, you will not be able to handle it because you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're waiting for the 15th or the 31st. Again, with all these things, there's no judgment. That's why we're here today, to learn how we can overcome some of these things and live the life of financial peace that God wants us to have. Like one of the things I tell people all the time when I do like sessions and whatnot is one thing I noticed personally in my life was my prayer life changed when, my finances got in order. Did I make $1 million? No. But when I knew the state of my flocks and I knew exactly what my herd was doing, I knew where my finances were going, I understood, how I was spending my money, it changed how I prayed. Because some things, it's not necessarily prayer that will change it. You just need to develop the habits and the discipline. And God will supply the grace to be able to stick with it. Amen. Amen. And then last but not least, this is also a big why for me personally, is to be able to give like no one else. Like God has I don't know if you guys have ever, like, for those on the call, if you've ever had a situation whereby your friend, for example, I remember when I was in university, a friend of mine, her parents were not able to send money from Nigeria as quickly as possible due to whatever reason, and I gave her $100, and I saw how just that $100 changed her entire week. And that's just $100. How much more if you're able to buy, for example, a car for a single mom or a student that needs it desperately? You understand? Or how if you're able to take care of a financial bill or a medical bill or something for somebody that desperately needs it. God won't need to come down from heaven to touch those people. You can be the hands through which he touches these people. To be able to give to for example, one of the biggest things I wanted to do when I was younger, my father used to joke that I was part of his retirement plan. And I took that very seriously as a child, So one of the things I definitely wanted to be able to do, to be able to take care of your parents and just give them the life that some of them struggle to send you to school. Some of them struggle to bring you to Canada. Even as you're in Canada, they're still struggling. That can be one of the things you want to do. You just want to get to a point of financial freedom such that your parents never have to struggle for money in their old age. Because all the hustle they're doing now and bringing you to Canada and taking care of you now is stopping them from being able to save for their own future. So how awesome would it be if you have the means to be able to take care of them when they are in that stage of life? you know. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. So now we're just going to go into the how. And the how being, how do we get there? How do we get to financial peace? Now, like I said when I started the introduction, the what is the RRSPs, the TFSs, the investing and whatnot. The how is, okay, having a financial plan, having a big picture, like, okay, this is how I'm going to get there. I want to get to financial peace. These are the baby steps. So these are what I'm going to use to be able to get me to that level, get me to that stage. Okay. So the first thing you want to do, no matter who you are, how rich you are, what you make in this life, like we always say on Fixit Finance, it's not about how much you make, it's about how well you manage it. It's not about how much you make, it's about how well you manage it. Because, again, from my research, my studies, my just being in the personal finance space, the number one, for example, the number one profession that produces the most millionaires, some people will think it's doctor. It's not, it's actually teachers. And teachers, as we know, are very underpaid. But however, they tend to practice this discipline because they don't make so much. They tend to be very disciplined. And a lot of teachers actually retire as millionaires. You understand? So it's not about how much you make. So when I say get organized, because one thing I used to do personally, I used to be like, okay, when I start making $50 an hour, I will be good with my finances. When I start making $30 an hour, I will make sure that I budget and blah, blah, blah. That's not how it works. Sorry. When you're making $15 an hour, when you're making $10 an hour, learn how to manage that. You understand? Because what will happen is those habits that you develop when you're managing little is what will help you when you need to manage the big things. So, in getting organized, the first scripture, like I already mentioned, this scripture is one of my favorite scriptures about money because it's at a very basic level. If you keep track of this and if you know this, every other thing will fall into place because it's very easy to change a habit once you see that it's a habit or it's a bad habit or it's a good habit. It's very easy to continue it. So the scripture we're going to be taking is Proverbs 27 verse 23. It says, know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds. Right? So back in the day, in the days of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, they all dealt in, sheep, cattle, goats, and all these other things. And that's how, they kept track of their wealth. So the Bible is telling us that we should know the state of our flocks. You need to know the state of your finances, and then you need to give attention to it. So it's not just enough to know it, you also need to give attention to it. And what does that mean? So the first things first is no burying your head in the sand. I know for a fact someone like me, before I got into the whole personal finance, I didn't even want to look at it. I only look at my account to see how much I have so I know what I can spend. So I'm not going to embarrass myself in dollar store. You understand? So you need to know the state of your finances. And knowing the state of your finances is way more than knowing just what the balance is in your accounts. You understand? So you need to know your bills. Like, for example, I'm always so shocked when I do like a session with someone, like a one-on-one with a couple or with a person, and they say, oh, on my credit card for the past 3 months, Audible has been removing 14.95, and I didn't know, I just caught it. I'm like, excuse me, what were you looking at when it happened? You understand? So again, no judgments. It's just a matter of we need to know the state of our flux. Like some of us, we have bills coming out of our accounts. We don't even know what's going on. Like we have no clue until later on. They've been taking the money for like 2 years, and then you look up and you're like, wow. Some of you don't even know how much your bank charges you in a month. All you know is the one monthly fee. But did you know that sometimes banks will just randomly charge other charges for no reason? And if you don't call, you just will never know that happened. You understand? So know your bills. Like what bills come out of your account, on what day, what amount is supposed to come out. So I know banks have really advanced in the kind of reporting, and thank God for data analysis and some of the content that banks are able, like what's it called now? Machine learning and all this AI and all this stuff. Because now your bank account, you don't even need much. Your bank account will tell you, for example, if your utility bill was 40% higher this month, your bank account will even let you know that, hey, the city of Kiniko or Direct Energy took X amount instead of that amount. But before that happens, you should know because they would send you a bill. So you should always understand what your bills are on a certain month in any season, basically. If your insurance is going up, why is it going up? Just because your insurance told you they're going to change your bill to $15 extra a month doesn't mean you have to take it. You should call them and be like, why am I getting extra service for this extra $15 you're about to charge? You understand? So don't just take it lying down. So you should know the state of your flux and ask questions, right? The next thing is you should know your debts. Like the one of the things I personally specialize in is student loans. And I'm always amazed. Most of the first thing I ask the students is how much do you owe? And I've only met one that said exactly how much she owed. Most people are just guessing. So the first thing I tell them is go and find out, call NSLC or BMO or whoever your loan is with and find out the exact amount you owe to the cents. You shouldn't be guessing on stuff like that. You should know how much you owe people, from your credit cards to your phone bill to anything. You should know how much you owe. Again, it's all about knowing well the condition of your flux and giving attention to your herd. Another version say pay close attention to your herd. You should pay close attention to your finances. Now, if you're married, for example, and for example, my husband could care less about some of all these things. So I take on that responsibility. And in other marriages, it's the opposite. But one of you needs to be paying attention, at least, at the very least. Okay, and then know your income streams. So for example, some of us we have like we're doing Amazon, selling on Amazon or selling on Etsy or selling on whatnot. You should keep track of your income streams. In a month, you should be able to say, okay, I made XYZ from this source and that source and that source, especially if you have side hustles or more than one side hustle. You should be able to keep track of, okay, like the Bible teaches we should have at least 7 to 8, but that's not for today. But my point is you should be able to keep track and know, okay, every single one of these items, this is how much money is coming in from this source, that source, and the other source. Amen. And then also, as part of getting organized, we need to budget. I know this sometimes some people don't like hearing it, but budgeting is very easy. And that's why when I talk about like in this session, having your why, if you understand your why, you will do whatever is needful to be able to get to that expected end. So budgeting is one of those things. It's a non-negotiable in this scenario because that's the way you keep track and that's the way you know well the condition of your flux and the state of your herd. You understand? Budgeting is how you would know when the bank has overcharged you. For example, your bank fee is supposed to be $16.95 or $15.95 or $20 a month, and they charge you $35. You will ask questions. You will call the bank. Okay, what happened? Why did you charge me this? Why did you charge me that? If you keep track of your credit card expenses, you would see when Amazon or whoever has charged you extra that they shouldn't have charged, but you will see it right when it happens, not 6 months later when it's too hard to kind of fight it at that point. So that's why I say budgeting is one of those important things. And then in the spirit of getting organized as well, the next thing we need to do is to streamline. So what do I mean by streamlining? For example, some of us are bills on a monthly basis. One comes out on the 24th, another on the 12th, another on the 15th, another on the 2nd, and then the last one on the 1st. It makes it very hard to keep track, especially if you're one that's not necessarily given to financial matters. So for the sake of your peace of mind, streamline. Call all these people, tell all of them, only take money on the 15th. The ones that can't, sure, no problem. Because some people, I know like someone like Apple will likely not change the date for you. But your insurance company will accommodate that. Your mortgage, they will accommodate that. Your rent, well, that's on the 1st, non-negotiable. But I'm just saying, like, streamline your bills. It helps in keeping you organized. It helps in keeping you on track. So okay, if all your bills are coming out, excuse me, and you don't have to put them all on the same day. For example, if you get paid twice a month, say you get paid on the 1st and the 15th, you can set it in such a way that your bills come out on those 2 dates. And then you're not worried about anything in between paychecks. That's one way to definitely break the paycheck to paycheck cycle. You understand? When you streamline, you know exactly what's supposed to happen. So you're only doing review of your bank account. Because when I say budget and streamline, not bury your head in the sand, people think you have to check your bank account every day, and that's not necessary. You can actually just set it in such a way. If you set your bills and everything to come out in a certain period, on that day is when you would do your reconciliations and whatnot and call it a day. So that saves you, having to worry about one bill coming out on the 16th, one bill coming out on the 1st, one bill coming out in 2 weeks. You understand? Hope that makes sense. Okay. So we're going to go into an example of budgeting. I apologize for this red line. I really don't know how to get rid of it because I don't know. Someone came in and put it there, and then it's yeah. Anyways, okay. So budgeting. We're going back to budgeting. So the first thing when it comes to budgeting, you need to plan every dollar before it happens. So you see how we talked about knowing your income streams and knowing where money is coming in from. This is why it's important because you have to plan for every single dollar that's going to enter your account, be it from a refund of something to something you did for somebody else to your paycheck from your first, second, or third jobs. You need to plan every dollar because that's how a zero-based budget works. So a zero-based budget is basically at the end of your budgeting cycle, everything amounts to zero. And I have an example in this slide. So we're going to plan every dollar. And it's very important that you know the income streams that contribute to these dollars. Amen. So assuming you make $5,000 a month, this is what a zero-based budget looks like. You do your tithe, for example, which is your giving, 500 a month. You have your savings, your investing. There's a difference between savings and investing. You have your rent, your food, insurance, some of your recurring bills like your, Netflix, Disney Plus, gym, some of those stuff that happens every single month. And then you have your non-recurring. You need to buy shoes or you need to buy, just random stuff. And then, of course, there's debt payments if you have any debt. If you didn't have any debt, this amount would go into your investing or your saving or your giving bucket to be assigned. And then at the end of the day, everything adds up to 5,000 because you knew you were going to make 5,000. You understand? That's what we mean by planning every dollar. You can do this on a monthly basis. You can do this on a bi-weekly basis. So all the different budgeting apps out there, from every dollar is an actual budgeting app, to YNAB, to Mint, every single one of them would be able to tell you like you can set in different incomes. So you can have income from paycheck one, income from paycheck two, income from paycheck three, income from Etsy, income from, designing whatever, and have several income streams and then plan every dollar at the end. So the basic thing you need to take from this is that when you budget, it should be a zero-based budget, meaning you plan every dollar. Every dollar should be going somewhere, either to your tomorrow in the form of investing or to your yesterday in the form of paying off debt, and of course to your today in the form of paying off bills. So every dollar should have an assignment. Think of them as little soldiers, little workers you need to send on assignments. It's not just angels that go on assignments. Amen. Your dollar should go too. The next thing is tracking your spending. So when you set your budget, for example, some things are going to be fixed. Your giving should be fixed. Your saving, investing, your rent should be fixed. Food may not be fixed. For example, with food, you budget $600 in a month. You need to go in and actually enter those expenses to see that you're actually sticking to that budget. Because I know a lot of us, and in my experience, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, I only spent 200 on groceries," and then we sit down and we do their budget, like going over the last 3 months of their expenses, and they actually spend close to like 450, 500 because you're going to eat out, you're going to buy skip the dishes, and then you buy a what's the other one? Uber Eats. You buy random lunch with your colleagues. All those add up, and that's all part of your food and entertainment budget. So yes, you may spend 200 on groceries, but the 250, 400 that you're spending on, outsiders and on eating out is also part of that. And that gives a better sense of what you need to put in that block when it comes to food and entertainment. Amen. The other reason you need to track your expenses is because if you set a goal, for example, say you want to save $10,000 this year, right? If you don't keep track, there's no way you're going to know that, okay, you've actually reached that goal. So in your budgeting app, you're going to set it in there. You want to save $10,000. When you look up in July, for example, this is July. So this is the time when a lot of people take stock of, okay, what did I want to do in the first, like we did in our family? We sat down and we said, okay, we had some goals for the first 6 months of the year, and we looked at it. And one of the things we noticed, our savings goal, we are very under. Investing, we have exceeded it. But if we didn't keep track, there's no way we would know. We would just be guessing at that point. So that's what I mean. You need to set your budget, yes. Then you need to track to see what you're trending. So, for example, in our home, I have my family members that come over usually in the summertime. So in the summertime, my grocery budget goes up. Again, because I've been keeping track, I know for a fact that, okay, this month is going to go up. My utility bill, it's going to go up. So you budget higher this month. But because you keep track of your expenses, so I was able to compare last summer when my family was here, what did we spend, to give you a better understanding. And again, the apps and all these things, they do most of this analysis for you, so you don't have to worry too much, about the math. Amen. The next thing when it comes to the how is to set goals. So we talked about having a financial plan, and we're going to go into the baby steps on the next slide. The first thing is, so like the saying goes, if you aim at nothing, nothing. If you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time, right? So if you don't have a financial goal, if you don't have a financial plan, you're just not going to hit anything. But if you have one, then at least you're aiming towards something. So, for example, say you set a goal to save $10,000 this year and you only save seven. The fact that you had that goal of 10 is the main reason why you were able to save seven. So, it's better than nothing. You understand? So, that's what I mean by you need to have financial goals, So, when you pass, for example, baby step 1, 2, 3, and you're in baby step 4, you notice that in that scenario you're no longer really measuring your financial you're not measuring your financial picture anymore by just, oh, how much debt I paid off and whatnot. You begin to track your net worth by you begin to track your financial freedom by tracking your net worth instead, right? Because at that point now you're looking at things from a net worth perspective as opposed to, oh, on a daily cash flow perspective. As opposed to a cash basis, you're now looking at, okay, net worth, like, okay, how am I increasing this month? Amen. The scripture here is Proverbs 21, verse 5. It says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. You understand? So we need to have a plan, especially a plan that's going to lead us to profit. And that's what a financial plan is. You're saying, okay, this is where I'm at today. A year from now, this is where I want to be. 2 years from now, this is where I want to be. 10 years from now, this is where I want to be. If you're like me, and setting some of those goals in a year, 2 years, 3 years is usually not, it doesn't sit well with you. I'm like that. I just like having big picture goals, for example, you know? So, and that's where the baby steps come in. So for me, I measure myself based on my financial plan, based on what baby step I'm at. Am I in baby step 2? Okay, cool. Once I finish baby step 2, start baby step 3. Amen. So this saying is one of my favorite sayings, especially when it comes to finances, because we all tend to overestimate what we can achieve in a year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, or even in 18 months. On average, the average person, it takes them anywhere from 18 to 24 months to pay off all their non-mortgage debt. But most people, they want to do it in like 6 months. And if they've not done it in 6 months, they give up. So I'm here to encourage you that don't underestimate what you can do in 2 years. Don't underestimate what you can do in 18 months, in 17 months, in 16 months. Don't underestimate what you can do in 3 years when it comes to your finances. So don't always say, okay, by December I want to have paid off my student loans. You make 30,000 a year, your student loan is 24. It's not a cost. You cannot pay it off unless something else happens. You make some sort of money somewhere or something. So when you set an unrealistic goal like that, you're just going to end up giving up and be like, this finance thing maybe is not for me, but it is definitely for you. So I want to encourage you, let's not when as we're going through this and you're making notes like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, set yourself some realistic timelines. And we'll go into how we can calculate some of those timelines in the next few slides. Okay? So yeah. If you have any questions, like we said earlier, please make sure you're sending them to Sister Shade, just because when it comes to finances, sometimes it's a lot of material. So as the questions come, make sure you're jotting them down. So these are the baby steps. I hope you like my cute little baby there with his or her diapers. It's a gender neutral baby. Amen. So the baby steps. Baby step 1. This is the financial plan I personally follow, and this is the one I usually recommend to everybody because it's so simple. That's the beauty of it. There are 1,010,000 financial plans that you can come up with, and again, you can make it your own. That's one of the reasons why I like it. You can mend it to your own lifestyle and to your own family. 2, it's very easy to follow. There's no rocket science to it. You do step 1 first, and then you do step 2, and then you do step 3. You understand? So you're going in line and in step, and you can measure. You can see. Okay, you can actually see actual progress as you go along. Okay. So baby step 1. The first thing is we want to save $1,000 as quickly as possible. Now, How do you do this? We're going to spend a couple of minutes on this slide just because we're going to go through each one by one, right? How do you save $1,000 as quickly as possible? There are 1,010 ways, but one of the quickest ways, for example, if you have sorry, Shadi, the chat is giving me notice. Are there questions to take or should I keep going?
No, you can go ahead. You can keep going.
Okay, perfect. All right. So save $1,000 as quickly as possible. What I did personally when I was doing this. Now, so I could advise you that okay, go out and make, for example, okay, sorry, let me gather my thoughts real quick. Okay, saving $1,000 as quickly as possible. What I did personally, because I had debt already, and so for example, I had one line of credit that had about I think $15,000 on it, and I owed maybe 13. So for me, I just assumed 1,000 of that was my emergency fund. You understand? That okay, if anything happened, that's my starter emergency fund. And then after some time, I didn't like that. The next thing is you can save, for example, from each paycheck, dedicate, $200 from each paycheck that you're not going to touch and just set it aside somewhere. In 5 months, you're going to have your $1,000. If you make hair, for example, set a goal this month. I'm going to make hair for 10 people at $100 each, and that's going to be my emergency fund. If you have a side hustle, say you drive for Amazon or you drive for Skip the Dishes or whatnot, say, okay, every single check from this side hustle for the next 6 months or for the next 3 months or for the next, depending on how much you make, up to $1,000, that's going to be my emergency fund. And this emergency fund is a starter emergency fund. So that's, God forbid, while you're completing the rest of the baby steps, at least baby step 2, not the rest of the baby steps, your tire blows out, your battery dies, you have to, for whatever reason, anything happens. So it's a starter emergency fund. And you might be asking yourself, $1,000 is not enough. Exactly, $1,000 is not enough. So it's supposed to light a fire under your behind so that you will quickly complete baby step 2 and then you can get to baby step 3, which is where you've saved a fully funded emergency fund. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Baby step 2 is to pay off all non-mortgage debt using the debt snowball. What do we mean by non-mortgage debt? Basically everything outside your mortgage. Credit cards, student loans, help me babe. Credit cards, student loans, lines of credits, HELOCs, your phone bill that you haven't paid in 3 months, anything you owe to your landlord, especially if your landlord is your friend. I feel like that was for somebody. Anything you owe to your parents, anything you owe to friends, like your friends/friendship. Some of us specialize in borrowing from friends, and we need to break such habits. You understand? What else? Anything that's outside of your mortgage and outside of, if you don't have a mortgage, great. Basically anything you owe to anybody at any point in time. That's what we mean by non-mortgage debt. So what is the debt snowball? The debt snowball is very simple, and it's one of the things I personally love because of the ginger, for lack of a better word, that comes with it when you start. So assuming you owe $500 to Rogers, you owe $1,000 to one of your friends. You have to borrow 1,000 for whatever reason. You owe $7,000, for example, on a line of credit through your bank, and then you have another $15,000 in student loan. So that's 4 debts: $500 to Rogers, $1,000 to a friend, $7,000 on a line of credit, and then $13,000 or $15,000 in student loans. So what you would do is you will set aside. So if we go back to this zero-based budget, in this under the debt section of $1,000, so you're assigning $1,000 to paying off debt. So assuming the minimum payment on the Rogers one is $50, the minimum payment on the friendship one is $100. You tell your friend, I'm going to pay you $100 for the next 10 months. So what you do is you pay off the minimum payment on all the debts, and then everything over and above that you save from your budget or from your side hustles, you would first of all use to pay off the lowest one, the one with the lowest balance. So in this case, that'll be the one with Rogers, $500, right? So assuming all your minimum payments added up together is $500, but based on your budget, you have $1,000 assigned to paying off debt, right? So you would pay off the $500 minimum payment on all 4. Then the extra $500 you would go towards paying off Rogers first. Once Rogers is paid off, that extra $500 will go towards paying off that extra $500 plus the payment that was going to Rogers will start going to your friend. So assuming you have the extra 500, you should pay off Rogers this month. Your friend, you will pay off in 2 months' time because the 500 plus the Rogers payment will go onto your friend. Then once you've paid off your friend, the minimum payments for those two plus the extra 500 will start going on the line of credit. You see how you begin to build momentum. It's like a debt snowball. So it starts off, I don't know if you've seen a snowball before in like some of these movies. It starts off small, but as it begins to roll, it gets bigger because it's gathering more snow. And by the time you get to the end, it's massive. So towards the end, when you get to the student loan, you have so much, you now have $1,000 full because you've paid off the first three. You have $1,000 to put towards your $15,000 loan. Even if let's assume you pay off the first three in 6 months, right? Whatever is left on the student loan, you will clear that in about 12 months, 12 to 18 months, if you're disciplined. It should be less than that too, but let's just assume anything happens. But you see how quickly you can actually pay off debt if you pay attention and if you actually do the needful. Okay, I need to speed things up. I'm just looking at the time. Okay, the next baby step is baby step 3. And that step is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in an invest to run your household. Or let's say it takes $2,000. You take that amount, you multiply it by 3 or 6, depending on which one you want to do, or even 4 if you want to do 4 months, 5 months if you want to do. I recommend 6 months just because might as well. But you take that amount, say it takes 5,000 to run your household. You multiply that by 3 months, that's $15,000, or you multiply that by 6 months, that's $30,000, and you save it and you put in an emergency fund. Another rule of thumb I personally use is just $10,000 per adult in the household, minimum as an emergency fund. You understand? So if there are 2 adults in the household, that's a minimum of $20K for an emergency fund. Now, this is for basics. If your household is run on a larger budget, say for example, you guys the 2 of you are professionals, you bring in 12, 15K into the house, 20K is not enough. You need at least 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up. Amen. Baby step 4 is to save 15% of your household pre-tax income for retirement. Now, we've done baby step 1, we've done baby step 2. We're having this massive cash flow because we don't have any debt. For example, if you take away your car payment of $500 a month, you take away your student loan of $300 a month, that's $800 that you are now not doing anything with. But you're going to be doing something with it in Jesus' name in baby step 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Amen. So you take that money that you would have otherwise been paying towards yesterday and you use it to start paying towards tomorrow. The first thing is you save that emergency fund. That emergency fund is to cover, God forbid, anything happens. For example, my father passed away last year. We couldn't travel because of COVID. But if COVID wasn't there, we would have all had to pick up and go to Nigeria. And you don't get pre-warning for something like that. So if you don't have an emergency fund, guess what? You have to put that on a credit card and pay 29.9% interest on it. When you go to Nigeria, you will mourn for your father, then come back and mourn for your bank account. And that just doesn't make sense. You understand? So if you have an emergency fund instead, that will cover those kind of expenses. For example, a lot of people lost their jobs during COVID. Employment insurance, EI, and the COVID relief and all that, some of them took time before they hit the account. Your landlord won't hear that you rent. You understand? Your landlord will not take. Thankfully, we live in a country like Canada, so some landlords were actually really nice. But most bills, they kept charging you, whether or not, for example, a lot of people didn't drive. I'm pretty sure you still paid insurance that month you were staying at home, or those months you were staying at home. Some insurance companies did give refunds back, but most didn't. So what I'm saying is your household still has to be able to run even when you're not working or when there's an emergency. So that's why you need an emergency fund. You understand? Because anything and everything can happen. You get. Okay. The next thing is baby step 4, 15% of your household income in invest 15% of your household pre-tax income for retirement. So for example, if the 2 of you, if you and your spouse or just you, say you make $50,000 a year, you save 15% of that and you invest it for tomorrow. We're going to talk about investing in some of the slides coming up. The next one is save for your children's university education. So in Canada, we have something called an RESP. And one of the things I love right now that Canada is doing, there's something they have like family RESP plans. So you don't have to worry about saving for each child. You just open a plan for your family and just be putting money there for any amount of children you have. It's a beautiful thing. And when your children grow up, they want to go to med school, they want to go to law school, they want to go to trade school, they want to become a plumber, a mechanic, which are very good careers, by the way. They want to become dental hygienist, whatever, you have the cash to be able to sponsor education. So they're not starting their adult life in negative balance like some of us have to do. Baby step 6 is to pay off your home early. So now you have 15% of your income going to investments. You have, the maximum you can put into the RESP. If you don't have any debt, there's going to be some cash left over. We're going to take that money and start to pay off our house early. And then baby step 7 is you continue to maximize all your investments, retirement accounts, and you build wealth and you give. Again, the key here is to do each one step by step. Most times, baby step 4, 5, and 6 are done together simultaneously. Because assuming you have a household of $100,000 in after tax income, for example, so sorry, in pre-tax income, 15% of that, that's 15,000, will go towards investing. If the household has, been able to minimize its expenses, assuming the expenses for the household is 50,000, so there's an additional how much 35,000 left to do something with. Let's say you put 10,000 in baby step 5 for all your children in the house, you still have another 15,000 to do something with. That can then go towards paying off your home early. Okay. And then, of course, baby step 7 to build wealth and give. So, one of the pillars that you need to do, and I encourage you all, I thank you so much for being here, because what you're doing right now, you're increasing your financial literacy. So Proverbs 4 verse 7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding, which is what you're doing now. Read books, listen to podcasts, listen to YouTube, follow Fixit Finance. You will learn something, I promise. So you must increase your financial literacy, right? And then I have here, before every decision. Before you buy a house, do everything in your power to learn about house buying in your neighborhood. Before you invest, learn about investing, even at a basic level. Before you determine to open a business, do as much research as possible. So that's what I mean, before every decision, right? Before you put your money in Bitcoin, learn about Bitcoin. Before you put your money in any form of coin, learn about it. Amen. We'll discuss that later. So these are just some of the books that I personally recommend to start with. Total Money Makeover, The Richest Man in Babylon. I really love The Richest Man in Babylon. It really put things like it's an audiobook. It's free on YouTube. Don't tell anybody I told you that. Rich Dad Poor Dad, also on YouTube. Rule Number 1, Investing by Phil Town, The Millionaire Next Door, The Intelligent Investor. I can give you like 1,010 books. This year alone, I've read like 10 on personal finance and just money management. Again, because I like it. But what I'm saying is, some of these, their podcasts, all these authors have podcasts that you can listen to be able to increase your financial knowledge. And then the last but not least, in the how section, is to maintain and measure progress. So like I said, once you get to a certain level, you're not going to be tracking yourself by how much debt you're paying off anymore. You're going to start tracking yourself by your net worth, right? And there are 3 ways to increase your net worth. And I put it here that your net worth must increase each month, and it can. Don't think that that's impossible. Your net worth should be increasing every single month. Why? Because you earn income every single month. However, if you keep eating, if you keep biting off more than you can chew, and you keep spending tomorrow's money today, that's when you get yourself into issues in terms of having a negative net worth. And there's no judgment. I started out with a negative net worth, but you do the necessary work. And like I said, within 18 to 24 months, you can turn that around completely. Okay, so the first way to increase your net worth is to save/invest. So like I said, in my household, we have savings goals. So for example, you want to buy a new car, you want to buy a new laptop, you want to buy whatever, you save for it, you don't go into debt for it, right? So savings is one way to increase your thank you. Sorry, my sidekick is here. The next thing is investing. So investing, when you invest, you're saving for tomorrow, you're increasing your net worth because you're putting money into something that's supposed to generate income, right? So the next way to increase your net worth is capital gains/earnings. So capital gains, for example, you buy a house, especially if you're in places like Toronto, you buy a house for 400 today, tomorrow is 700,000. Hallelujah. You just increase your net worth by 300,000. Earnings. So earnings include, like, for example, you invest in Starbucks. Starbucks gives you a dividend of $12. You put $100 to buy one share. They give you dividend of $12. You carry that $12. Now you have $112. Your net worth just increased by $12. Yay! Okay. And then the last way to increase your net worth, pay off debt. Every time you pay off debt, you are increasing your net worth. Hallelujah. If you owe $50,000 to your student loan and you pay off $2,000, guess what? Your net worth just increased by $2,000 from negative 50 to negative $48,000. Hallelujah. It's still progress. Thank you. And then we're going to go into the basics of the what. So, like I said in the beginning, the what is your student loan, your investing, RRSP, TFSA, buying a house, or whatnot. Those are all the what's. But having a clear understanding of the why and the how would make understanding the what easier. So, like I said, one of the things I really love helping people do is pay off student loans. So, we're going to talk about how to pay off your student loan in this slide. So, which is again part of the what. Like, first things first, the number one thing I always find when I help people with student loans is they don't know the amount they owe. They're just guessing. They say when they started 3 years ago, the balance was 49,000. And they're like, yeah, it's 49,000. I'm like, no, I'm very sure it's not 49,000. Sister and brother, call NSLC, find out how much you owe to the last cent. Say, and do this for all your debt too. Find out exactly how much you owe, right? And if it doesn't make sense, ask questions. If, for example, you started out at 49,000, now you owe 52, and you've been paying monthly payments, ask questions. Now, there's a reason why some of that happens, and we'll go into that, I think, in the next slide, actually. But find out how much you owe to the letter. Get official documents. Let them send you a letter saying, as of August 15, 2021, you owe $48,252.49. Amen. Next thing, automate the minimum payments. Now, please do not be like me. When I graduated from university, I purposely ignored NSLC because I thought I was sharp. When they call me, I will not pick up. When they send me a letter, I will throw it under my bed. Don't do that. It affects your credit score badly. 1. 2, they gave you money to go to school. Sisters and brothers, you are to pay back so that they can give it to other people tomorrow. It's not free money. So please call them. They are very, very reasonable. If you're not working, like I wasn't working, I didn't find a job for I think the first 17 or 18 months when I graduated. I picked up the phone. I said, hey, I'm not working yet. They gave me extension, but they gave me another 6-month extension where it was just interest. It was going to start bearing interest, but I didn't have to make any payments. After that, I still wasn't working. I called again. They gave me another extension. So they are very, very reasonable. However, for any lender, especially in this Canada, don't ignore your lenders. That's my last point on this slide. Keep your lenders updated. If you owe on your credit card and they are calling you to find out, if you owe Rogers or you owe Fido or you owe Kudo and they are calling you, pick up the phone, make a payment arrangement. I'm broke right now. I can only make $20. It's better than keeping silent, because then they make decisions and they do things to you and your credit score that you will have to answer for later. You understand? And then for your student loans, like I said, automate the minimum payment and then make extra payments like we talked about in the previous example. One thing I want to highlight, which is whenever I do this, people always have a light bulb moment. So I'm hoping you have the same. So we have two people. One person pays only the minimum payment. So if you, for example, with Canada, your student loans, when you get into repayment, they do it over a period of 14 and a half years. It's usually 15 years, but the first 6 months, there's no interest, right? So it's a 15-year, but they do it such that the first 6 months, there's no interest. Some of you are in that period right now. Hallelujah. Bless the Lord for you. Let's do as much as we can in this free 6-month period. And what happens is they spread your loan over 15 years. So, for example, a loan of $50,000 right now, based on the NSLC fixed rate, would be at 4.45%. So, the student loan interest rate right now, national, I'm not talking about your bank, for example, is prime plus 2, and prime is 2.45 right now. So, prime is the prime interest rate. So your interest rate for this type of loan will be 4.45%. So, assuming you make a payment of, say, in this kind of loan, your actual payment on a monthly basis should be $391. Say you did what I told you and you called them and you said, sorry, the minimum I can make is $200. Like I said, they are very accommodating and they will take that money. So in these scenarios, both people pay a minimum payment of $200 a month. So that's $2,400 a year. Hope you're following so far. So $50,000, both of them owe 4.45% interest rate, and they both have $2,400 in payments, $200 a month. But person 1 does not make any extra payments. Person 2 makes $300 a month. Again, from that debt snowball, she had over $1,000 of her $500 extra. She took $300 and she started paying extra $300 on the student loan, right? both of them will have the same interest expense. So of 2,225, which is 4.45% of 50,000, right? So they will both have the exact same interest. But because of this person's extra payments on the principal, so what I mean by on the principal, on the $50,000 at the end of the year, after paying $200 a month, only 175 of the 50,000 was paid off. Why? Because the interest side gets paid first. If you have a mortgage, you know what I'm talking about. The interest gets paid first. From every payment you make, the NSLC, the bank, whoever your loan is with anything, credit card, line of credit, blah, 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 they take their interest first. Anything left over and above that goes towards the principal to reducing the balance. So in this scenario, the person that makes $200 a month will only make 175 on the 50K. So that's what happens when people will look up 10 years after graduating, they still have the debt and they're wondering why they've been paying 200 a month. That's because you're basically not touching, you're not making a dent in the 50K. And this applies to every loan, mortgage, line of credit, anything. Now, in the second scenario, this person is making extra payment, right? Of they've which is okay, so 300 a month extra plus 200, that's 500 a month that this person is making. On the principal, in the first year, they're going to pay off 3,775 of 50K. Now you started to make movement. You will see movement in that regard. You understand? So next year, the interest on this loan is going to be less because they're going to charge 4.45% of 50,000 minus the 3,775. For those of you who don't like math, I hope you understood that. But, finance is fun. I'm not a huge math nerd, even though I'm an accountant. But when it comes to money, I will pay attention. Okay? So let's continue. Hope this makes sense. If you have any question on this slide, just send it to Shadi or myself. So investing. When it comes to investing, this is sorry. Can you see the slide? It kind of blanked out for me. Can you see it, Shadi? Just not. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So investing, I'm gonna just run through quickly some basics. So there are different types or different investment vehicles you can use. So I'm gonna focus on these four. There are much more, but these are the main four that most people know. So the first is stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds. So basically, this is you owning a part of a company or borrowing money to a company in a bond, for example, or owning a part of multiple companies in a mutual fund / ETF, right? Now you can hold this first bar in registered accounts. So that's your TFSAs, your RRSPs, your LIRA. So LIRA is locked in retirement account, your RESPs for your children. Those are all registered accounts, right? Meaning you have a SIN number attached to it. It's registered with the government. And the biggest difference between a registered and an unregistered account is the tax benefit that comes with it, right? So we'll go into that in the next slide for RRSPs and TFSAs, but that's the biggest difference between registered and unregistered accounts. So registered accounts, there's a tax thing attached to it. CRA wants to be very much informed. Unregistered, they don't care because when you put money inside unregistered, they will collect their tax that same year. So they don't really care. Yeah, not that they don't care, sorry. But what I mean is they will get their money either way. But in the registered one, they need to keep track because it's taxed in different ways, right? And then the last but not least, other way you can hold stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, it's in insurance products, which I'm not a huge fan of. So that's when you have things like annuities. You have things like universal life insurance, which gets marketed to a lot of us international people because we don't understand the product. If you're in universal life, just ask the question, please. I didn't put it in this set of slides because we're not discussing insurance today, but just that I should put that out there. So yeah, the next thing is real estate. That's another vehicle you can, put or park or / invest in. For example, like I said, in Toronto, you buy a house today 400, you sell it tomorrow for 700, you just made money. That is investing. And I'm talking outside your primary home now. So not your primary residence. I'm talking about outside of your primary home. The next thing is business. You can start a business. You make hair. I'm still waiting. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe I'm waiting for someone who makes hair. I've seen just one person in Calgary actually, but like we need more people who make hair to actually turn it into a full-fledged business because it's a money-making machine. Yes, it takes time. You can transfer some of your skills to other people, have chairs in your salon. Like we have anyways, that's not why we're here. But if you make hair, please express yourself, turn it into something good, make it into a business, have friggin' what do you call it, franchises, you understand, of black owned that make braids and that do afros and sister locks and everything. It's definitely a hole in the market. You understand? Okay. The next type of thing you can invest in are commodities. So a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually invest directly in like wheat. For example, if you believe wheat is going to be the in thing next year, and you just know you only you want to like invest directly in wheat, you don't have to invest in the company. You can invest directly into the commodity. You understand? So if you want to invest into like cattle and whatnot, especially if you're like me, you're from Alberta, you see cows every day. You understand? You can invest directly into stuff like that. You can invest directly into oil. You understand, as a commodity. Other things in the commodity space include gold and silver. You can invest in gold, you can invest in silver, you can invest in copper, you can invest in bronze. Yeah, actually, sorry, I've never done it before, but I'm just saying those are commodities. You can invest in some of these things directly. Cryptocurrency falls under the commodity space, not necessarily the investment as per stocks, bonds, and co space. It's not legally recognized in Canada as a commodity just yet. But for those of you that are in cryptocurrency, just keep track of how you're, selling and whatnot, because all these guys, they keep track, and when the CRA is ready, they are going to come back and ask for their pound of flesh. So please just make sure you're keeping some sort of, especially if you're making money on it, like keep some sort of, even if it's like 25% or 20% aside, that you will use to settle the bill to the tax guy. Because like I said, on registered accounts, like we talked about up top, cryptocurrency will fall into that category. It's not tax advantaged in any way, meaning when you make the money, you pay the tax on it, but that's not why we're here. Okay. And then, of course, there's Forex. I'm not talking about all these people on Instagram that be sending you a message. The most recent one I saw was someone, he messaged, he says Michael Jackson, that he's back from the dead. He needs $600 to come back to the States, that he can do Forex. But that's not why we're here. They'll just be careful in some of these things. Just make sure you are, again, doing your research. Before you put your money into anything, you need to have a basic understanding of it. Okay? Almost done. Investing, so we can take questions. So this is the next thing, like I talked about. So one of the things that the organizers had specifically asked about was RRSPs and TFSAs. So when it comes to unregistered accounts, like I have here, your LIRA, your TFSA, your RRSP, your RESP, they are not investments in and of themselves, right? They are just containers that can hold investments. So for example, you buy a stock in Starbucks, you buy in Peloton, you buy in Apple, you buy in Tesla, whatever. You can put those into a container. So the container could be your LIRA, your TFSA, your RRSP, and whatnot. So they themselves are not investments, they just hold investments. So let's go through the RRSP. So, actually, we can just do it on a comparative basis. Your RRSP is before tax. Excuse me. Any dollar you put into it is before tax. So what does that mean? Assuming you make 100,000 a year, if you put 10,000 in an RESP, you're going to get taxed on 90,000. Why? Because you put 10,000 in an RRSP. On the other hand, with the TFSA, if you make $100,000 a year and you put 10,000 in a TFSA, you will get taxed on $100,000. It's not tax advantage before tax, right? But in the future, when you decide to withdraw the money on the TFSA, you will pay tax on that money at whatever your tax rate is on that date. However, because you've already paid the tax on the money going into the TFSA, right? Because they taxed you on the full 100,000, there's no tax when you go to withdraw the money from the TFSA, right? Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just put it in a question. The next thing, RRSPs, you can put up to 18% of your income. So if you made $100,000 this year, you can put up to $18,000 to a maximum of $27,830. So when they say maximum 27,830, it's 18% or the max, right? So if you made 100,000, the max you can put is 18,000, not the 27,830, right? A TFSA on the other hand, the maximum you can put in any given year is $6,000. But if you have contribution room from the past, so say you didn't put any money in TFSA last year or the year before, that's $12,000 that you did not put. You can put that money today. So you can put 12,000 plus 6,000, which is 18,000 today, right? So it's 6,000 a year plus any contribution room of previous years. In an RRSP, if you get a pension through your work, for example, in my family, one of us gets a pension through work. Your pension reduces how much you can put in your RRSP. So of the 18,000 you could put in your RRSP, say your company gave you 15,000 as a pension plan, like in a pension plan, the max you will be able to put then is 3,000 in your RRSP. Why? Because you already have 15,000 in a pension. A TFSA, on the other hand, does not have that limit, right? However, if you over contribute into a TFSA or into an RSP, you will be taxed extra. Please don't see, my brothers and sisters, I work in public accounting and I do taxes for a living. Don't over contribute to your TFSA. It's just not worth it. The tax on it is very painful. Wow. Don't do it. So if you're here and you're thinking you can just over contribute, nothing will happen, don't do it. It's not worth it. The tax on it is ridiculous. They charge you extra tax for over contributing to some of these registered accounts. So just don't do it. If you're not sure, sit down with an accountant. Heck, call me. We can go through the numbers and work through the numbers. Okay, you're making 50K this year. You can put this in your TFSA. What's your contribution? You understand? Like, do the analysis. Don't just throw money inside. Amen. But most of us, this won't be our problem because we have contribution room from yesteryears that we've not used. Amen. So you should start worrying about this when you've made like 150K per year for like 6 years. Okay. The next thing is, like I said earlier, the RSP is taxed on withdrawal. The TFSA, there's no tax on withdrawal. And then I have take the match in both. What this means is if you are working in a company and they have said they will match you in your TFSA or in an RSP, for example, if you put in 3%, they will put in 3%. Or if you put in 6%, they will put in 6%. Or if you put in 4%, they will put in 4%. Please, oh please, take the match. Even if you're paying off debt, take the match in your office. Let them automatically take that money, and that's free money that you're doing nothing to earn. 100% earnings right there. So take the match. Amen. So again, continuing on in investing. So before you start investing, I'm just going to walk you through the steps of how, if you want to start investing today, what can you do? My suggestion is that you complete baby steps 1, 2, 3. Like I said, it's a suggestion. That's what I personally did. Completed baby steps 1, 2, 3 before starting. And why? It's because of the earnings. You won't necessarily make as much in investing. For example, you have a credit card you owe 5,000 on it. They're charging you 29.9%. You can't make 29.9% in a regular investment overnight like that. I mean, you can. Obviously, there are anomalies. Bitcoin can go up tomorrow. Tesla can fly to the moon next year. You understand? There are anomalies like that, yes. But on average, you won't be able to make that much. That's why I always encourage to pay off your debt first before investing. But if you want to, like I said, you can mold it to yourself. There's no judgment. Do what fits your lifestyle. Open a brokerage account. That's the first thing you need to do. And here are a list of the brokerages we have in Canada. Questrade and Wealthsimple are the top two in terms of robo advisors, and then all the major banks, RBC, CIBC, BMO, TD, they all have investment arms. So TD Wealth, BMO, Nesbitt Burns, CIBC Wealth, they all have a wealth brokerage account. So you open an account with them. You're going to need to show a piece of government ID, so your passport, driver's license, stuff like that. Once you open the account, so for example, one thing to note, Questrade allows you to buy stuff in USD and Canadian. Wealthsimple right now only allows you to buy in Canadian. So that's something to factor in, because if you're going to buy, say for example, an index fund, a Vanguard index fund, VFX, whatever, that's a US dollar fund, right? If you buy it through Wealthsimple, you're going to be getting a hit on that exchange rate every day. Well, not necessarily every day, but with the transaction. However, in Questrade, you can hold assets in US dollars. So I recommend, if you're going to I have both accounts. So if you're going to open an account, make sure you buy Canadian stuff in Wealthsimple or in Questrade, doesn't matter. But just note that for when you're buying stuff. Then there are others like Qtrade, Virtual Brokers, iTrade. There are many. We have quite a number of options. Like, to be honest, the 2020s and co, like this past 4 years, we've really advanced when it comes to making wealth building available to everybody. And that's what I mean. Like, even in Wealthsimple now, you can buy fractional shares. So say, for example, a share of Tesla is 1,300, but you only have 100. You can buy a fractional share of Tesla. So just a portion of the share, put in your $100 and still gain some benefits. So after you open a brokerage account, you fund the account, and I say no withdrawal because when you are putting the money in, it's not for you to be withdrawing it. This for tomorrow slash when we become big boys and girls. So please don't be withdrawing the money. Okay. And then you need to pick a strategy. Are you going to be an active investor or passive? I know for a lot of us, especially like the clients I've dealt with, most people just want to be passive. They just want to be putting their money in something that they know will be making money, and that's fine. You can buy index funds in that regard. You can buy ETFs again. Though it's same thing. They're invested in multiple companies across different boards. You put your money in those. That's more of a passive strategy. Questrade and Wealthsimple also have portfolios. So you fill out a survey to see if to test how aggressive you are. I always say, especially those of us on this call, we're all young. There's no reason why you should be scared to be aggressive in your investments. So you choose, for example, their aggressive portfolio and just be putting, 200, 1,000, however much there each month. And you look at your account every month, you don't have to worry about it. They are the ones that pick the investment it's invested in. If you want to be more active, you want to do your research on Apple, Tesla, whoever, and then you want to buy their stock, that's also okay. And then last but not least, automate your payments. Whatever you do, automate it. Just make sure that you get it done. You understand? Automate it as much as possible. Then if someone told me that I would talk this long, I would have said it's a lie, but it is well. The next thing is for real estate investing. So like buying your first house. Again, I recommend that you complete baby steps 1, 2, 3 first. And why? Because of an emergency fund. Owning a home and not having an emergency fund is like inviting disaster to come and dwell in your house. Do you understand? It's just not. Again, you can do what you want to do. It's a recommendation because if you buy a house today and tomorrow the stove stops working, you're gonna have to replace it, and you take that money from your emergency fund. You get again, it's just a suggestion. So the first thing you want to do is to save your down payment of 5 to 20%. So 5% if it's your first home or your primary residence, 20% if it's your next home. Now there are other ways you can get into putting less money and whatnot, but that's not why we're here. I usually recommend that your mortgage be no more than 25% of your take home pay. If you're living in markets that are abnormal like Vancouver and Toronto, maybe 35% would be the recommendation because, again, you just can't help those kind of markets. However, what you should be aiming to do is to increase your income as much as possible in those kind of markets so you can stay within the 25% range. And the reason for this is because that leaves 75% of your income that you can use to do other things with to finish the rest of the baby steps. If you buy a home and it's 50% of your take home pay, that's just way too much stress. And there's such a thing as being house poor, whereby you literally live just to pay your mortgage. And, that's not much of living to me. So that's why it's a suggestion. As much as possible, your housing should be no more than 25% of your take home pay. This includes rent as well. There are some people, some of you here, some maybe not here, but I know people where their rent is literally it's 50% of what they make. That's not living. You only have 50% of your income to do other things. That's a very tight budget, right? And we're aiming for peace here. Next thing when it comes to buying, like I said in earlier slides, make sure you do a lot of research. Like even before you buy, for example, any city that I'm interested, I know their real estate market, even now as I am right now, just in case any opportunities come up. Look at listings, they're all free to look at online. Look at the real estate board, it's free to look at. Understand mortgage rules, they change often, especially when things like COVID or the market crash of 2008 happens. They usually change mortgage rules in those kind of scenarios. What would you need to do to qualify? So it's not just enough to have your 5% down payment. They're going to have to stress test, meaning, okay, based on your income, if anything were to happen, how much would you still be able to pay the mortgage? That's their biggest thing. They want to be able to know that they'll make their money. And as usual, when it comes to real estate, I always say the deal is in the buy. Forget about the capital gains for now. You should make money before you even enter the door, meaning you get a deal when you buy it. Okay, so you have to be diligent in keeping ahead of what's coming out in your markets. So we have come to the end of the presentation. Just going to go over some key takeaways before we go into questions. So the first things first, you need to budget, like we talked about. Zero-based budgeting, keeping track of your expenses, because that's how you know what's really happening. Sometimes you look up and you're like, I made 20,000 this year, or I've made 45,000 this year. Where did all that money go? You will be able to know if you've been keeping track. You can just go in and say, okay, this is what I spent money on. I spent 10,000 here, 5,000 there. Have a financial plan. We talked about the baby steps 1 to 7. And then track your net worth. That's how you know that and again, like I said, it should be increasing every month. It's not far-fetched or unachievable. Your net worth should be increasing every single month. How you're paying off debt or you are saving slash investing. So you're adding to it or you're reducing the debt load. And then last but not least, sorry, giving. That is the best part of all this whole financial freedom. You understand? You're talking to your friend, she needs something, you just quick fast, order it, send it to her. You should like stuff like that brings joy. Your church is doing their church building. They need 4 families to partner with them and give $10,000. You and your spouse stand up with much joy. You understand? A girl in your church, just went through some marital issues, has to leave her husband with kids, is now a single mom, whatnot, needs a car. You take however much, you buy her a car, and she doesn't even know that it's you. You understand? So, like I said, you should be able to sponsor Live It Loud this time next year or this time in 10 years. Hallelujah, somebody. You understand? Don't, these are not far-fetched giving goals. You understand? Like I've shared this on one of our Live It Loud, so I said Live It Loud, sorry, one of our Fixit Finance videos about one of the giving goals we had last year that we did. And remember how I shared earlier in this show that, okay, we've exceeded our investing goal, but our savings goal, we've never even hit anything. And the biggest reason, because we keep track, we looked at it, we've been doing Father Christmas since January till now. You understand? So again, that's the beauty of it. It's a joy, you understand, to be able to give and not stress. You get, there's giving, yes, but to be able to give and not stress, that's the beauty of having financial peace. Amen. Hallelujah. I hope somebody has been helped. Thank you, Jesus. So, yes, hope we have time for
Thank you
questions. I did not
so
expect to go
much.
this long.
We actually do have some time, yes. Thank you so much for taking time. That was so deep. I have like my notebook is like so full of stuff.
Thank God.
Thank
Thank
you
God.
so much. So we're just gonna go into the questions. I'm gonna start from the beginning.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you, everyone, for your time. This has been a blessing.
all right. So the first question: how can you approach personal finances when you have no debt? So, but earn a low income and you cannot seem to get a better job.
Thank you for that question. Actually, I really appreciate that question. And I appreciate it for one thing when you said you make low income and you can't necessarily find another job. So one of the things I started with was, like the number one in every single millionaire book, every single millionaire research I've ever done, the number one set of people that are millionaires by the end of their lifetime are teachers. And teachers earn maybe 30K, 50K. You understand? They earn really low income. So I'm happy for where you are at, my dear sister, that you have no debt. The fact that you have no debt is a joy and a wonder. You understand? Especially in this Canada. So you should celebrate that. Second, it's not about how much you make. It's about how well you manage what you make. If you make 1,000, if you make 1,500 a month, and you bring all your expenses in this life to 1,000, you have $500 to invest. I know doctors that don't have $500 a month to invest, and they make upwards of 300K. And the reason why is because they are heavily indebted, right? So what I'm saying is if all you make is 2,000 a month or 1,500 a month, you bring all your household bills down to 1,000 and you free up 500 to be able to invest to tomorrow. That's your answer right there. Yes, look for another job. Yes, look for ways to increase your income. Take a course. There are so many free courses right now. Start applying to random jobs that you don't even know. Start a side hustle. If you're this person and you can make hair or you can cook or you can whatnot, turn it into an actual business. You understand? Definitely find ways to increase your income. But from what you make right now, take out of that and start investing. Start putting it into things that generate income. For example, I love what Disney does as a company. I can't do it. I'm just one person. So I will give Disney my money, let them do it, and then give me my returns. You understand? That's the beauty of investing. So, yes, to answer that question, just take your whatever you make right now, find a way to squeeze something out of it and invest. And again, find a way to increase your income. You'll be okay. Trust me. You'll be very okay. Next
Thank
question.
you. So the next question. What are some recommended budgeting apps?
Budgeting what?
Budgeting apps. So for
Oh,
people to
apps. Okay.
download, like apps, yeah.
Every dollar is my favorite because it forces, so in every dollar you have a plan section, what you plan to spend. You have a spend section, so you have to go in and enter that. Okay, I went to Tim Hortons, I spent $5. I paid 160 for Rogers. I paid however much for Fido. I paid, you understand? So that's one of the reasons why I like it. There's YNAB. YNAB charges you every month, so that's why I don't like it. I will keep my money, but it's really good, especially if you're one of those people who you don't want to fret, you don't want to stress. It's about $6.99 if I recall correctly. There's Mint, there's Excel, basic Excel, our normal Excel. Use that. There's pen and paper. You can use it if you want. If that's what I'm saying. You want to find what works for you, and feel free to try different things. If you try YNAB this month and you don't like it, switch. Try Mint. If you don't like it, switch. Try every dollar. You're not married to anything. So those are just some of a few apps. Most of your banking apps as well have some sort of like financial planning. I usually don't like them because they're not very user friendly, but then again, I don't have an account with every bank. So check what your bank has and then go from there. If all you start with is pen and paper, you've started. So just start. That's the biggest thing. Next question.
Okay. So the next question is, where can emergency funds be saved? Is it just regular bank savings account or a special account?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. So, an emergency fund. So, I had mentioned about Questrade, Wealth So, Wealth for example, is one of my favorites to recommend because they have something called Wealth Cash. Now, if you go, I just don't have it. I would have shown it on my phone. We have a post on Fixit Finance that actually shows different. So, there's Tangerine, there's EQ Bank, there's Wealth there's what do you call it? I have to look at it. It's a post on Fixit Finance. So there are different banks you can actually save. These are banks that pay higher interest than the regular banks, RBC, BMO, and Co. So the interest rate, I think, on Wealth right now, thank you, is 0.5%. I think EQ Bank is 1.75 or something. Again, they're called high interest savings accounts. So if you Google them, we have quite a bit in Canada. So that's where I would recommend that you park your emergency fund. So not in your bank. You want something where you will need at least a day or two to access it. So you won't mistakenly use it to buy Starbucks. Just saying.
Thank you. So you mentioned that we should pay off the minimum debt first. So the question is, should we pay off the smallest debt off first, or should we pay off the ones with bigger interest first?
Okay, so I get that question a lot. Like I said, the main reason why I recommend the snowball instead of the avalanche is because the snowball you get ginger. So for example, when you pay off like when I said the four debts, the 500 to Rogers, the 1,000 to your friend, the 7,000 to line of credit, and then the 15,000 to student loan. When you pay off that Rogers bill, you will gain some, confidence. And then you pay off your 1,000 to your friend, another ginger will enter your bloodstream. You get, and then you pay off the 7,000. By the time you get to the student loan, you're already fired up. You're throwing everything at it. You understand? So that's why I recommend using the debt snowball, because when you calculate the interest rate, and I did, because when I was paying off debt, I was that person. I was like, it makes more. I have a accounting and finance background. So I was like, okay, let me do the math. The difference in how much I paid for interest was negligible. So the time it takes you to get to the student loan, what you would have paid in interest, you understand, is negligible. But the momentum, the grace that comes with being able to keep going, when you pay off the smallest one, then you pay off the second one, then the third, then the fourth, the ginger that comes with it, like the fired up that comes with it, is what you're after. So you can do both. There's nothing wrong in paying off the high interest one first. However, the momentum is what we're after. Next question. Oh,
okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
I found the banks for the high interest savings accounts. So there's NEO, there's Motive Financial, EQ Bank, Laurentian Bank, Oaken Financial, Maxa Financial, Implicity Financial, Wealth just to name a few. So we have plenty of options in Canada for high interest. These are banks that pay more than your regular bank accounts.
Okay, so there's a similar question as well. For debt repayment, is it advisable to pay off low interest loans early, or invest that extra money and just pay off the loan with the regular timeline?
Okay, it's the same answer I will give you. So again, when people ask me that question, I always say it works out when it works out, right? It works out when it works out. So you can take that money, instead invest it. Imagine if you invested it last year January and then COVID hit in March, you would have lost in 2 ways. Do you understand? So because the investment did not hit and you still owe the debt. So I always say don't try and outsmart or game the system. Just follow the process. It seems, I know, especially we that are very, you may want to see, okay, how can I quickly? Just follow the process. You understand? Like submit to the process. Instead of investing that money, because you just never know. Tomorrow, like I bought a random stock which day. The first day I bought it, it went up 18%. The other day, dropped 10%, and then it will go up 5, then come down 15. You understand? Even the heart palpitations that will come, you will be too invested in that investment because you need it to pay off debt. So I would suggest instead just pay off the debt. You understand? If you have $1,000, for example, extra cash, you can decide, okay, I will invest 200 and pay off, use 700 to pay something off if you really want to be investing, but not that you're investing for the purpose of taking that money to come and pay off the debt. Do you understand? Yeah. If you don't understand, for this person, I recommend reading The Richest Man in Babylon. That will really help break things down. It was a really good book for breaking down that concept. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna write that down. Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, I put it on the set of books, I believe, somewhere up there. I'll find it there.
Okay, thank you. So the next question says, what but sorry, no, not that one. Can you open and contribute to RESP if you're not married or have kids?
Sorry, I missed that. You kind of broke out.
Okay, the question says, can you open and contribute to RESP if you're not married or have kids?
You don't need to be married. You just need to have children. So children is the key to open the RESP door, not marriage. Now, I'm not saying I'm born without marriage because, see, I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so you need children. It's you need the pekin, you need the child to be able to fund that account.
The next question, how do you invest in a commodity? Through a bank or how?
So through some of the brokerages I talked about, they all have commodity sections. So for example, TD Wealth, Questrade has their, stocks, bonds, whatnot. They also have commodity section. Now, Wealthsimple, for example, has Wealthsimple crypto. So you can buy cryptocurrency there. Again, there's another post on Fixit where I put like all the, not all, but like the top set of not brokerages. What are they called now? Please help me. Where you can buy like cryptocurrency if you wanted to buy. You can buy commodities through Questrade, for example. You can buy into oil, wheat, cattle, whatever else, and then the exchanges to buy cryptocurrency as well. They all have their own. Some of them like the most popular is what you call it, Coinbase. You understand? So for the commodities themselves, they have different. So the traditional ones, which would be your gold, silver, your oil, and your like your agriculture, you can buy those through brokerages. The non-traditional one, like cryptocurrency, you would have to go through like an actual coin exchange, which is, something like Coinbase, BitBuy, stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. If I have not reached my contribution limit on my RRSP and TFSA accounts, how do I check how much limit I have left? Well, I mean, your Canada Revenue account.
So you can check how much you have through your CRA account. So when you file your taxes each year, the government is going to let you know how much you have left, but don't rely on just that. So you will take that amount because that's just the starting amount as of December 31st of the previous year, then plus or minus anything you've done in the current year. So this is July. If you've made any contributions January to now, say you've made $3,000 in contribution, and as of December 31st, you had 76,000. That means you only have 73 as of today. So you get it from CRA first, then plus or minus anything you've done in the year so far. And again, if you keep track of your net worth and you keep track of your, budget and whatnot, you don't even need to go to CRA. You can tell based on what you've put into your tracker, right? Like your budget tracker or your Excel or whatnot.
The next question, is it better to invest with online brokerage accounts like Wealthsimple and Questrade than major banks in Canada? Maybe in terms of the fees, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is that you do it, right? Over the long term, the fees on places like Questrade has one of the lowest fees. Questrade and Wealthsimple has some of the they are much lower than the
Yeah.
big banks. In Canada, we pay some of the highest fees for investing in general. Mutual funds, 2 point something percent. Our brothers and sisters in the States are paying a fraction of that. So I would definitely suggest that for your first 100,000, start with a robo advisor. That way you get your feet wet, you get some understanding, you see how money works from an account, from that perspective, from an investing perspective. So I would suggest for your first 100,000, use an online robo advisor like a brokerage account like Quest Simple, Quest, I said Quest Simple, Wealthsimple or Questrade. You understand? To just get your feet wet and to get into the system, into the process. Then later on, you can start. You can go into like some of the bigger name brands and whatnot if you feel the need to. Now, if you have an account through your bank, I won't say switch to Wealthsimple or Questrade. So long as the service you're getting and the fees you're paying are okay, then you don't need to switch, right? The biggest thing is, so I know with Questrade, I think it's 499 or 495 to buy stocks, to buy ETFs are free. Wealthsimple, they don't charge any fees. They make their money on the exchange, like the US dollar Canadian exchange. But most banks will charge you like 9.95 per transaction, ETF or not, So that's what I'm saying. Like you just want to do some of that research. But if you're fresh, you've never done anything before, I would definitely suggest those two. However, if you already have something with the bank, and you don't necessarily need to switch unless you feel the need to. Next
All
question.
right. So the next question, do you offer financial classes for immigrants? As some of us don't know these things.
Yes, I do. So, conviction. Okay. I usually do. So if you follow us on Fixit Finance, I also do one-on-one counseling, like one-on-one with families. Just because everything I've spoken about is in general sense, but like one-on-one, I actually sit with you to understand your own financial picture. I also do like lives. I haven't done one in a while, I know, but I also do lives on Fixit Finance. Where we talk about different topics and we bring different speakers. So I would highly suggest following us on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. And then, you can also reach out, fixitfinanceca@gmail.com, and we'll go from there. But yeah, definitely, I that's one of the main reasons why we started Fixit Finance, to help us immigrants.
Thank you. So y'all can follow the page on Instagram. I put it in the chat room. It's Fixit Finance. So the next question, what type of investment will you suggest when you have access to a lot of money? For instance, you have saved up multiple thousands of dollars.
Okay, so a lot of money is relative. For some people, 10,000 is a lot of money. For others, 400,000 is a lot. For still others, 400 million is nothing. You understand? So when you say a lot of money, I think, okay, let me not go that route. Okay, so I would say if you have a lot of money and you want to invest or do whatnot, I would say first start by following, like, where are you on the baby steps? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have any debt? You understand? If you have debt and you have multiple thousands of dollars, you really don't have multiple thousands of dollars because the two net against each other, right? So if you have 20,000, say you have 20,000 in savings, but you also have 30,000 in debt, you actually have negative 10,000. So I would say work through the baby steps. If you don't need to do baby step 1, that's okay. Are you done baby step 2? If that's okay, that's awesome. Baby step 3, do you have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses? Like expenses being how much does it take to run your household in a month times 3 to 6. If you have that, then you're fine. Now you're in baby step 4, 5, 6. So the types of investment I personally would recommend is, let me just go back to that slide. The first two here are usually the most they don't require as much investment in the sense of, well, they do actually in the sense of time, but at least those ones are quick to get into. So you can look into real estate, for example. There's some markets right now. The real estate market in Canada is just wow. It's like a movie. And it's every city. My city, when I first moved into this city, the real estate market here was beautiful, but COVID just destroyed a lot of things. Prices are ridiculous. And again, it's because demand outweighs supply, right? So real estate is one thing you can look at. There are markets that are coming up that are not quite where Toronto and Vancouver are. Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Regina. There's so many other markets you could potentially park money in. That said, I'm not a huge fan of long distance landlording, so it depends on where you are. Next thing is, how well invested are you in just, companies, right? So stocks, mutual funds, like you should start doing some research there and maybe start putting money in some of those things to get your feet wet and to understand what the market does. So definitely my recommendation would be those two to start with: real estate, and then of course, ETFs, mutual funds and whatnot in your TFSA or your RRSP. Next
Thank
question.
you. So the next question, how do you stay on budget when there's a lot of family pressure and you find it difficult to turn a blind eye? Thank God you're a Christian.
How do you what?
How do you stay on budget when there is a lot of family pressure and you find it difficult to turn a blind eye? Thank God you're a Christian.
Oh, that is such a great question. Whoever you are, male or female, I love you because we were there. We were very much there. You just can't say no. Like I said, this year, for example, one of the reasons we've not hit our finance goals is because we've been giving like madness. So I get it. And especially when it comes to family members. I was joking earlier when my dad used to say I was part of his retirement plan. I didn't take that as a joke. I took it very seriously. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to become successful. So I get it when you say you cannot turn a blind eye to family matters. That said, that said, that said, wisdom is the principal thing, like we shared in the scripture earlier in this session. So when you have a budget, right? For example, what we did that helped us, we set our budgets, our zero-based budgets, and we had a line item for giving. There was tithe and offering. That's its own. Then we had a line item for giving. Assuming that's $100 a month. Every other dollar is planned. So when they come knocking, is that 100 that I will give, and it's to first come, first serve, right? If it has finished, you won't feel guilty because because what are you going to do? Are you not going to pay rent because you want to help somebody in Nigeria, for example? Or are you not going to pay your phone bill because you need to help somebody in Nigeria? You understand? Like another family that I worked with, what we did was, so the family was back home and one of the spouses was here, but the rest were back home. So part of that emergency fund, we made it like bigger. So instead of $1,000, it was more like 5K, right? There was a set amount each month that went back to Nigeria. Let's say that's $500 for the family to upkeep. When emergencies, because we know how it is back home, NSAS can happen. There are so many things that could come up unexpectedly, right? So that emergency fund, that starter emergency fund, is then what goes to help that situation. But now, because you have a plan and you're more in tune with your finances, you know what constitutes an emergency or not. Because, for example, some people will call my husband from Nigeria. There was one that called my husband from Nigeria. Oh, he needs money for his daughter's school fees, blah, blah, blah. No problem. Here's money. Same guy called next month. He wants to buy a camera and wants to start photography business. Uncle, I'm not your God. Go and meet your God. And do you understand? So you begin to know, because you're planning your finances, you'll be able to decipher when to actually give and when this is just ridiculous. You understand? So yeah, my best suggestion for you: have a line item in your budget, make your emergency fund a bit thicker. Especially if you have family back home, like your ailing parents, for example. Like I know with my dad, he was not very feeling too great when we towards the end, and we had an emergency fund for, if God forbid he needs to buy drugs or whatnot, we just had money sitting for anything that happens. You understand? So that's my suggestion to you. But and again, you need to prioritize. Wisdom is the principal thing. Who is priority? Who is not? Your parents, priority. Your friend that you went to secondary school with, not priority. You understand? Sad but true. You get? So you will need to prioritize, because your financial future, you need to be able to stand firm, so that tomorrow you will be a pillar. You get? And you cannot get to that place by doing Father Christmas to everybody. It's just not going to happen. A time will come, and that's baby step 7, where we say build wealth and give. To send 10,000 back home would be nothing. However, until that time comes, let's do the needful. Amen.
The next question, how do you keep track of your money numbers when you only have a checking and savings account with one bank?
How do you keep track of your money numbers?
Yeah, money numbers when you only have a checking and savings account with one bank.
Um, when they say money numbers, are they talking about like their net worth, for example? Because if you're saying how do you keep track of your net worth with just one bank account and one savings account, you don't need too many. For example, in our family, we only use one bank account, even though we have two, we use one as primary. Because for me, I can't be going to like several. I actually like it streamlined that way, it's easier. So, to this brother or sister, you're actually in a better position than you think because you don't have multiple accounts in multiple places. You can keep track of your net worth. I personally use Excel to keep track of my net worth. And I also have an app that I use. There are many net worth trackers on there are many network trackers in the app store if you want to buy. So if that's what you mean, you don't need multiple bank accounts to be able to keep track of your net worth. You get so for example, assuming you were going to open a savings account in say Wealth Simple or EQ Bank, again that's another bank account. So you have your checking, your savings, and then your EQ bank accounts. That's three accounts right there. So it's not about how many accounts you have or keep. It's really about the quality and what is actually inside those accounts. I hope that addresses that question. But yeah.
Please, can you throw more light on brokerage accounts and how it operates and to go about opening an account?
Okay. I'm just gonna go back to that slide. So you go to Wealth Simple and Questrade, for example, everything you need to do can be done online. You go to questrade.com, wealthsimple.com, set up an account, and then you once you open the account, you fill out your information. You have to use your government name because you're gonna have to submit government issued ID. So if you're like me and your name is a full sentence, on my driver's license, for example, there wasn't enough space to take up my full name, so one letter is missing, I at the end. Meanwhile, on all my other documents, it's full there. So, but I wanted to use my driver's license to open an account, so I had to change my name. So basically, whatever name you use has to match the ID you're submitting. If it's your passport, let it be exactly as, because that's what they're going to use to verify. That's very important. Once you've opened the account, it will take about 2 business days, some same day, depending on when you open it. The account will be approved, then they will let you know that you can fund the account. So with Questrade, you would go into your bills, like and set up that Questrade account with the account number as a bill payment. So every time you want to transfer to Questrade, you select the bill and you pay. Wealth Simple, on the other hand, once you set up the account again with your government issued ID, it's going to let you know the account is ready, sign all the documents you need to sign electronically and submit it. And then to fund the account, Wealth Simple, you just go into add funds and you say, withdraw 500 on this date or withdraw 500 right now. And then Wealth Simple will go in and pull the money from the account. So you will need to connect your account to both of these brokerages. Yeah, and then the next thing, so for example, Questrade, they have Questrade, so the ones that are active, whereby you're the one picking the stock and whatnot. You can open either an RRSP or TFSA under that umbrella, or with Quest Wealth, you can also open RRSP or TFSA. So Quest Wealth is the actively managed, so that's the one you just set it and forget it. You choose safe their aggressive portfolio. You send however much you're sending there each month, or the active side. So you want to buy Starbucks directly or Apple directly. Same thing. You set it up and then you put money inside, then you go in and buy what you need to buy. They're all very, very like World Simple and Questrade, very easy to use, very user friendly, very, and then if you really have trouble, there are 1,000,010 YouTube videos that will walk you step by, because again, in this short session, we can't really go into every detail. They will walk you through step by step how to open an account. Wealth Simple is literally, it's so simple. Like they really stick to their name of Wealth Simple. So you won't have any trouble in that regard. And if you do, just shoot us a text or a DM and I'll be more than happy to walk you through.
Thank you. I personally use Wealth Simple and I think it's very user friendly. So I'll definitely
It's so
advise
simple.
it.
Yeah. I have both, so I can testify that both are equally as they're really top notch. Like they know what they're doing, they know their customer base.
Definitely. So someone said some of us don't enjoy reading. Is there like videos we can watch for financial maturity? So do you have any video recommendations?
Yes. Well, I do YouTube videos, but I also, if you go on YouTube, okay, if you're a big listener, I know, especially if you work full time or whatnot, you may not be able to watch YouTube like that. So I'll recommend podcasts. every single book that's on my book list has an audiobook. If you have Scribed, or is this Scribed? I don't know how to pronounce it. Scribed or Scribed, one of them, Sha. Or Audible, or what do you call it? Like someone like me, because I'm a financial person, I don't like to buy a book. So I borrow from my library. And my library has free audiobooks. So long as you have a membership, my local library here, the membership was $5, and I've read every financial book I want in there. You understand? Same thing if you're in Toronto, join your library. If you're in Calgary, join your library. They have a free audiobook app you download, and it's not just books from that library. They can access books from Edmonton, from Saskatchewan, from Regina. You understand? Based on your local library. So join your local library. Then Scribd, I think, is $12 a month or something, and there's free audiobooks, not free. You pay $12 per month for it. But you have unlimited. You can listen to unlimited audiobooks. Audible, on the other hand, is $14.95, but you can only listen to one book. So, so what I'm saying is all these books that I mentioned, they're all available as audiobooks. All the authors, most of them have podcasts or YouTube pages. If you check YouTube, you would even find the free audiobook there too. Excuse me.
Thank you. The next question, do you recommend registered or unregistered accounts, and why? Say, for example, you get RRSP through your work. Is it possible to open another registered account?
Excuse me. Talking for 2 hours straight. Sorry. Was
Did
the
you hear the
question,
question though?
can you open a TFSA in a registered and unregistered?
So do you recommend registered or unregistered accounts, and why? Say you get RRSP through your work, is the best option to open another registered account?
Okay, so this question is a little I think there's two parts to it. So the first thing I would say is, so an RRSP is a registered account. So that question needs a little bit of an adjustment. You can't have an unregistered RRSP. You can have an unregistered account. So this is when you just open an account. It's usually, sometimes it's called a margin account, like in Questrade, for example. So that's the one where you can use their funds to invest. Please don't do that if you can avoid it. So an unregistered account, you can't have an RRSP in an unregistered account, basically. But through your work, for example, if you have for example, I have an RRSP through my work where they match me. I also have my RRSP outside where, when I've done my budget, my investing will go inside. So if that's what you're asking, yes, you can have 1,010,000 RRSPs, 1,010,000 TFSs. However, all the money inside cannot exceed the limits we talked about. So if you have 10 TFSs or 6 TFSs, the max you can put in each one is 1,000 each. You understand? So you can open as many TFSs as you want, as many RSPs as you want. You just can't exceed the limits for the year in all of them. So yes, to answer your question, you can have the one through your office and then also have one outside in Questrade or Wealthsimple or your bank or whatnot. Hopefully that answers that question.
I think also for this question, if you can quickly just go over the difference between the registered and the unregistered.
Sorry, say that again. I apologize.
I'm saying that's okay. I'm saying for this question as well, if you can quickly go over the difference between the registered account, like a registered account and
okay.
unregistered. Yeah.
So a registered account, like I mentioned, has some sort of tax rule attached to it. So TFSA, for example, you don't pay any tax. You don't get any tax advantage when you put money in, but when you pull money out, there's no tax. That's a tax advantage. RSP, when you put money inside, they reduce your taxable income by that amount. That's a tax benefit. RESP, same thing. You understand? So that's registered accounts. Most times there's some sort of tax advantage. An unregistered account, for example, if I buy a share of Starbucks, for example, $100 in an unregistered, $100 in a registered. The one in the registered will it makes $10 in dividends this year, right? In the registered account, depending on the rule, I may or may not pay tax on it. If it's in an RRSP, I won't pay tax on that money that I made through Starbucks. If it's in an unregistered account, that $10, I will pay the tax on it when I file my taxes this year. So the income that money, that investment made, you get taxed on it every year. Same thing, any losses in future years, you put it in your taxable income. Like it's all part of when you're calculating your taxes this year. So that's the biggest difference between registered and unregistered. It's just the tax rules for the registered one are there, like they are straight, they have different tax rules. But with unregistered, you pay the tax right away, or you harvest the losses right away. So both are good. For example, like I said, say you're making 150K for like 6 years, you've maxed out your RSP room, maxed out your TFSA room, maxed out everything. Again, you just go to unregistered if you want and just start. You continue investing, but now you're just paying the tax on it in the year you earn it. Simple.
Okay, so the last
And because of
question we're
that,
gonna
when you withdraw from an unregistered account, because you've already paid the taxes on it, you're okay. Sorry, go ahead.
no, fine. Thank you. So the last question for tonight: did you advise keeping your savings and emergency funds on the investment app? And the second part of that question is how quickly can you retrieve your money when you need it?
So would I advise what? I heard the second part, but the
So
first
so
part broke
the
up.
first part is do you advise keeping your savings and emergency funds on the investment app? So use an investment app for your savings and then
Oh,
as
thank
well as
you.
your emergency funds.
That's a great question. The answer to that is no. Do not invest your emergency fund. Put it in a high interest savings account. Your emergency fund is not an investment. It's insurance in case stuff happens. I don't know if you guys remember that Chris Rock event from way back when. It is insurance in case stuff happens. So if you invest your emergency fund, for example, say you invested it last year and then you say you think Tesla is going up, you put it in Tesla and then Tesla crashed, your emergency fund have disappeared. So no, we don't want to invest our emergency fund. Put it in a high interest savings account. Some of the ones I mentioned. World Simple has it. EQ has it. There are many options. So you make your 1%, whatnot. That money is not supposed to make money. It's supposed to cover you for when you have an emergency. Somebody dies, somebody is sick, somebody loses their job. You need random something big happens to the house or to the car. That's what it's for. It's insurance. For example, most people, when emergencies like that come up, what they do is they put it on a credit card or on a line of credit. However, because you have your own, you won't need to put it on a credit card on a line of credit because you have your own line of credit that you created for yourself that TD and BMO will not be eating from. Amen. Amen. Somebody
Mhm.
raised their hand, but they put down their hand. I don't know if I
Yeah,
think I
I
might have
saw
missed
that
that.
too, but I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember
So
the
if you're the
name.
person,
I'm
you can
sorry I did.
did you have a
Oh,
question?
was that a mistake
No,
or?
I just wanted you to emphasize also to the people that when you're talking about investment, the same conversation should not have to do with withdrawals because the aim of investing is to leave it for long term. Because people think investment is where you put money and emergency happen, you take out money. So I guess some people would mistake it for investment is also a pot where I can go to where I have. You don't sell your shares because you have a sudden birthday party happening. You don't do that, right? So that's why I thought to wanted to
Yeah,
reinforce.
that's a good point, bro, John. Thank you. And that's why I have it on this slide that you guys can see. When I say fund the account, no withdrawal. You're not withdrawing the money for anything. I have people sometimes they'll put money in an RSP and then tomorrow they need the same money and go and withdraw it. That's not what it is for at all. Emergency fund should be put in high interest savings accounts, and then your investments going to the brokerage accounts and whatnot. We're not planning on touching that money until you need it in the future, near future. And when I say future, I'm talking about when you're no longer working and now you're living off of your investments. Thank you so much, bro,
All
John.
right, thank you so much, Mrs. Fikayo Usman. This was a very informative session. God bless your
Thank
work
God.
and what you do, and God bless your family as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this session. We have to round up now. If I wasn't able to read out your question, I'm really sorry. We just have to round up now. So I'm going to hand it over to Tone if she's still on this Zoom session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. This was really great. I really appreciate the opportunity. Is Tone going to round us up?
I believe so. But if not, we can just round off. Like we've come to the end, so everyone can log out. I think there's a short break after this. Not 100% sure. Let me just quickly confirm.
Any news?
We can all just join back on the main page. Any announcements
Awesome.
will be on that page. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. God bless. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Tone is here.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Tone.
Hello.
Thank you.
Are you guys done?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So is everyone going back to the main stage?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I think we have about 3 minutes. So
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
I didn't listen to everything, but you did. It was fantastic.
Thank
I
God.
had to
Thank
go
God.
back and listen. And we may have a few conversations. So.
You know my number.